Welcome to Hot Tees and the Center for T-Shirt Excellence, where we make your t-shirt dreams a reality. Normally, we would bring our custom apparel experience to you, but since we can't be on site today, we have created an online store that will be available for the next 5 days. Every shirt is made right here in our shop in Harrisburg, Oregon. Let me show you some of the options that we have. This tie-dye I'm wearing is one of my personal favorites, but wait, it's missing something. That's better. And if tie-dye isn't your style, we have a variety of other options. And we even have jackets and hats. Some say what we do is a little bit of magic, but to us, it is just part of a normal day. We hope you will shop with us online at hotteesapparel.com/Mount Hood Jazz.
What began in a small workshop in the Sellwood area of Portland over 75 years ago has now grown into the largest piano dealership in North America. For 4 generations, one Portland family has been honored to serve the piano needs of musicians, schools, institutions, artists, and music lovers throughout the Pacific Northwest and beyond. This is the evolving story of classic pianos, and the story of the Eunice family, a family steeped in the love of pianos. It all began when Maurice T. Schuster, a violinist with the Portland Symphony and piano technician, opened a small piano shop that specialized in tuning, servicing, and restoring vintage pianos. Within a short time, his reputation as a master piano technician was well established and the business grew steadily. The growth continued, culminating with bringing his grandson, Maurice Eunice, into the business in the 1970s, nurturing, coaching, and cultivating Maurice's love of pianos and piano restoration. After his grandfather's passing, Maurice continued in the piano business, eventually opening and growing a successful piano retail showroom in Portland, and then selling that business to a large national chain. In the early 90s, Maurice began serving as a piano and promotional consultant assisting piano dealers, and in early 2001 opened another small piano showroom in Portland with his son Brian under the name Classic Pianos. Soon Maurice was joined by his other sons, Aaron and Taylor. Since that short time, Classic Pianos has grown into the largest and most awarded piano dealership in the US, with 7 showrooms throughout North America, including Portland, Seattle, Denver, Albuquerque, Las Vegas, Boston, Anchorage, and now serving all of the Hawaiian Islands. Even though the company has grown nationally, at its heart, it is still a family-owned and operated business with the belief that music can change lives for the better. Maurice has often said, "We deal with dreamers, professional pianists, teachers, beginners of all ages who want choices." Each pianist longs to find the perfect piano that suits their particular taste and preference. Ask what he means by choices, and Maurice explains it this way: "We continue to partner with the best manufacturers and never stop researching to ensure we offer value and quality. We carry pianos ranging from entry-level studio and professional uprights to heirloom models from Börsendorfer, Yamaha, Schimmel, and Estonia, as well as a comprehensive collection of nearly new, like new, and restored Steinways from every era."
To see how Classic Pianos can serve you and your piano needs, visit us at classicpianosportland.com.
Hey!
Hey!
Hi!
It's time to crack an egg.
Easy, any style egg works here.
Or smile.
Well done, this looks great.
Time to share a story.
I have a great way to start our discussion.
With old friends or new ones.
When you're a caregiver.
Time to breathe in.
Inhale up, good job.
Then let it all out. It's never been easier to connect, learn, and have fun.
Cheers!
So let's do it together. Come find us at aarp.org/near-you.
Hello, my name is Roland Andrews, Vice President of AARP. And on behalf of AARP and our AARP Oregon team, welcome to the 2021 Mount Hood Jazz Festival. As you know, jazz is a uniquely American art form that is deeply rooted in the African American Black tradition, culture, and heritage. But more importantly than any of that, jazz is just food for the soul. It provides a measure of peace, it can provide a measure of comfort, and it can provide overall healing in a time like this when we need it most. So, what I want you to do now is just sit back. I want you to relax and just take in those smooth, comfortable, cool, healing sounds of American jazz. So, on behalf of the organizers of the Mount Hood Jazz Festival and your good friends and wise defenders at AARP, welcome to the 2021 Mount Hood Jazz Festival. Thank you and enjoy.
Hello, welcome to day 2 of the 2021 Mount Hood Jazz Festival. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dan Davey. I'm the Director of Jazz Studies here at Mount Hood Community College and the Festival Director for the Mount Hood Jazz Festival. We have an exciting day planned for you today, and I hope you're able to join us. We have this session with the amazing Ingrid Jensen, as well as a look at the history of jazz in Portland over the last 80 years with historian Lynn Darrick. That's later this afternoon, and performances by the Charlie Porter Quartet and the Army Blues Band from Washington, D.C., complete with an after-concert backstage Q&A with some members from the band. Check out mhcc.edu/jazzfestival for the full schedule and all of the links, and make sure that you check out our online store for all of our festival merchandise. If you'd like to make a donation to the festival, to help us so that we might continue to be able to provide work for musicians and education and inspiration for you, the link is below and in the chat. If you'd like a free way to help the festival, please hit the share button and let your friends know. Make sure you like and subscribe to our media channels and click the notification bell so you get notified when we go live or post a video. I'm now going to turn this over to our session moderator. She's the jazz director at Central Oregon Community College and a fantastic educator. So she's going to take it from here. So here's Sarah Owen.
Good morning or afternoon, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to the 2021 Virtual Mount Hood Jazz Festival. Thanks for joining us for this next session, a masterclass with Ingrid Jensen. Before we begin, I'd like to again thank our sponsors, including AARP Oregon, Clackamas County Bank, the City of Gresham, Classic Pianos, Gresham Sanitary, the Gresham Center for the Arts Foundation, Austin Custom Brass, and Spinella's Restaurant. These sponsors, as well as several partners and supporters, have allowed us to bring this festival to you this weekend. You can again visit our website for a complete list and learn how you might be able to support the festival so we can continue to elevate our jazz community both locally and beyond. My name is Sarah Owen, and during this session, if you would like to comment or ask questions, go ahead and put them in the chat, and I will send them over to Ingrid as we go. Ingrid Jensen was born and raised in Vancouver, raised in Nanaimo, British Columbia. Ingrid Jensen has been hailed as one of the most gifted trumpeters of her generation. She is currently on faculty at both Purchase College and is serving as the interim associate dean and director of jazz arts at the Manhattan School of Music. One of Ingrid's most frequent and closest collaborators is her sister, saxophonist and composer Christine Jensen. The sisters' release, Infinitude, featuring the brilliant guitarist Ben Monder, received heavy praise from the jazz community, as did Ingrid's latest recording, Invisible Sounds. The album, honoring the late, great Kenny Wheeler, received critical acclaim and led to a feature on NPR's Jazz Night in America, hosted by Christian McBride. Most recently, Ingrid was chosen as the 2019 recipient of the Jazz Journalist Trumpeter of the Year Award. Ingrid plays a custom Monette trumpet, built personally by the master builder Dave Monette. Without further ado, please help me in welcoming Ingrid Jensen.
Yay! What an intro. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everybody. I don't see you, but I'm closing my eyes and I'm feeling you wherever you are. I'm feeling your auras and your energies from the West Coast that I miss so much. Maybe there's people that are also maybe in other time zones, but specifically, I was thinking of the West Coast this morning when I left my home very early this morning to go play baseball. Well, not play baseball, be the baseball mom to a 10-year-old girl who did really well. They won, I think. Doesn't really matter, but they had fun and played ball. But when we were driving out of the house, I was looking, I'm on the Hudson River, which is, the closest I can get to water after being brought up on the West Coast, on the ocean, living with that, beautiful air and scenery. The closest I could get was being close to the Hudson, which is really cool. The light is amazing here, and the community I'm in is very strong. But I looked at the clouds, and just a second, I was like, oh, it's the mountains from the West Coast. Like my brain went there. So I'm just thinking of Mount Hood and Rainier and all of that incredible drama in the scenery out there that I definitely took for granted when I was growing up. Definitely was like, oh yeah, mountains, sea, whatever, we have that. But to you it might seem mundane, but to me it's like, oh, I miss that scenery and the I don't know, just the overall impact of that environment. And I mean impact is in like sweeping atmospheres that lead to things that come out of this chunk of metal sometimes. That said, here I am in my basement, thrilled to be here. I want to answer lots of questions, so I won't talk too much. A little bit of what I've done recently gig-wise, it's been sparse, to say the least. My life is consumed by, quite consumed right now in administration and working in an environment that I didn't know I would land in, but this time has put me in it, and I'm embracing the opportunity to dive into the systemic possibilities for change through scheduling things. It's that simple. There's been so much inequity in this country in the way things have run, and I think it's even oozed its way into jazz. So that's something we can talk about if we want to later on. I think it should be a healthy and productive conversation that causes all of our eyes to open more to the possibilities around us as teachers, as students, and as just good old kind human beings. Music is the vessel for that. And the trumpet happens to be my particular channeling unit that I get to throw my ideas through. So speaking of, if you didn't see this last night, I just want to share one clip of something that, and I apologize, I think it might stop, the sound might stop for a second, so just hang in there. But if you didn't see Jazz Day yesterday, I'm going to share the song I did because it really ties into what I want to talk to you all about. So it's a word that's in this song. So here we go. And Sarah, give me a thumbs up if you can see this and my dirty desktop, y'all. And if you can hear it.
We see it.
Too. Okay, good. One day I'll clean that up. Okay.
International Jazz Day is made possible by major support from Toyota.
Except you don't touch. Back in the day, it just went without saying at all. All the world's history gradually dying of shock. This thing that's like talking, except you don't talk. You the janitor sing. Sing for the cameras, sing for the animals, sing. Sing for the firemen, sing for the postal men, sing. Sing for the teachers who told you that you couldn't sing. Just sing. There is this thing keeping everyone's lungs and lips locked. It is called fear, and it's seeing a great renaissance. After the show, you cannot sing whatever you want. So for now, let's all just sing and make that our response. And sing.
I didn't know that would happen. It just jumped to Dee Dee. I don't know what happened. But you know what? I'll just stop sharing. You get this sense of what happened. I don't know what happened. That's that. If you want to watch it on the YouTube link, it's probably better. Go to jazzday.org. That's what I suggest to y'all. It's incredible. The concert just goes and goes. So that was 3 weeks ago with the amazing Victoria. I'm sorry, Veronica Swift. I always want to call her Victoria. Veronica Swift. We did that for the Jazz Day show, and it's in. That's all I'm blowing in is E. Can you guys hear that? It's okay. And it's about singing, and sing is the thing that I think helped me to figure out how to play on this thing. I really do. When people say, how did you get your sound? That's a question I get a lot. How did you find your sound? Like, well, I think it was always there. I think all of our sounds are already our personal sound in our being, much like Veronica's personal vocal sound is released from a deep place that is completely tied in with resonance, the resonant energy of the moment, the resonant energy of the song, the ring of the sing of the vocal cords. As you can hear, my voice is really low. What is my lowest note? Oh, comfortably a low C sharp. And concert. Oh, maybe on a day when I'm really tired, it might be a little lower. But that low sound made me gravitate towards another instrument first, and it wasn't the trumpet. I actually wanted to play some trombone because I had this really low voice, and I really wanted it to be there. I didn't hear things. I didn't hear them up there. At least I didn't think I did until I started to connect notes with the sound in my head that I preferred over the sound that was coming out of the trumpet. I don't know if that is a very basic description, but that's really it. And when I wasn't allowed to play trombone at school because my older sister played the trombone, I was literally denied the permission by my parents and band director to play the trombone. So I played the trumpet. Made my best friend play trombone. She got really good because she did this thing called practice. I don't know, whatever that is. I was like, riding horses, chasing boys, and doing stuff, climbing trees, occasionally practicing, but very, ADHD about it. It was all just trying to get to the sounds that were in my head from the radio I was listening to. I listened to a lot of radio from y'all down south there in Seattle, in Washington area. I don't think we got anything from Oregon, but definitely got some great spins from the Seattle stations. So I heard all this great music coming out of the radio, out of my mom's stereo, and some of it happened to be trumpet. So I was okay. I was set. I heard Louis and I heard Chet, and as I started to dig into the history of the music, as my band teachers hit me to it, Lee Morgan, Freddie Hubbard, Miles, of course. Eventually Woody Shaw. I had a boyfriend who bought me a Woody Shaw record when I was 16, and he was a great musician. I won't say his name. I don't want to embarrass him. But yeah, we
that's love right there.
That's love right there. You show up at the mall, and he had a trench coat, and under the trench coat was a Woody Shaw LP, and I was like, whoa. And so I took it home and put it on and hated it. I was like, ew, what is that? That's not cool, Miles and Chet. So it took my ears a minute to adjust to his sound and his approach. So by the time I started to get a little further on through school, high school especially, I remember like grade 10, junior high, and then high school, spending a lot of time in the practice room, singing notes and singing and connecting. Whatever it was, and then finding it on my horn. Yay. Not just getting lucky, like actually connecting. So I don't really think at this point in the conversation it matters that I played the trumpet. It could have been the piano, right? Then I could have created from a note I heard. So kind of back to that jarring ending of my solo there. There's a little more, but it's really all one chord. And that's why I thought there'll be a fun one to do a little demo on. It's just in E, R, E. And I just play over one chord. But there's a lot of possibilities when you hear ideas over one chord versus even a blues, even going into rhythm changes, into more complex tunes. And then there's a lot of possibilities to create with as well when you start to get deeper into rhythm, time, and let that become part of this whole singing process. So that song, the solo, before the solo section, it's all like it's 6, 6, 7, 7, 2 bars of 6, and then it mixes it up a little bit. So there's, if you listen back to it, try to catch where all the meters are as well, because that's part of singing and feeling and dancing the song. So that's kind of what I did. I figured out how to feel rhythm and hear notes and move with the time around me. And I think that helped me to get more into my instrument and find a way to, I don't know, get to the voice.
So as early as like high school or early high school, you were already singing and practicing? Because I know that's not, we teachers tell our kids to sing all the time, but the actual reality of it doesn't always happen, right? So
well, they're probably nervous too, right?
Exactly, right?
Sing in front of anybody?
There's not a culture of that sometimes, but how did, who did you just kind of start doing that, or did anybody direct you towards the singing, or it just kind of came to you?
That's a good, first of all, I was super nervous and shy. I was a very shy and insecure little girl when I was growing up, especially grade school, but I was singing in choir. Like mom always had us in choir. And I think that just to me seemed fluid from choir to recorder in 4th grade or 5th grade. And then picking up a trumpet, it was like, well, that seems like a logical way to keep connecting with the notes. But I wasn't ever like, yeah, I'm going to be a singer. It was never that element of like, I'm going to stand up front with a mic and sing. in that way and then play the trumpet. It was just, no, just the trumpet. As soon as I found my way of diving in with my voice and connecting, I can still remember that feeling in the band room when I connected the first time with a note that I didn't have to think. Right? They say, don't believe everything you think. Here I was believing, I'll never play these chord changes. F7, that sounds scary. That's like 7 notes and an F, but what do you do with all that? Right? It was code. But when I just let the code kind of shift off to the side for a minute and use my ears and connected with a note, I was like, oh, I see. Because the instrument responded because my body was in sync with what was happening, as well as my brain in a healthy place, not in the hindbrain scary part, but in like the frontal lobe of connection and the deeper inner brain place. Now that I'm old, I can explain it a little better. But back then I was just nervous as crap, and then I just stopped for 1 second when I connected to a note, and then I went back to being nervous as crap.
That nervous part of it, like you're saying, that hindbrain, fight or flight response in terms of singing is just so crippling, I think, for so many, especially beginning instrumentalists that are trying to get that. And I think, like you're saying, like just connecting to that voice is so important.
Yeah, and knowing that each individual voice is valid. There's nobody. We did a workshop yesterday with the great Terrace Martin, who's just like a virtuoso of all of the colors in the rainbow of music. And he even said, he's like, I don't care if a singer's flat or sharp. I mean, if they're off the Richter scale, that's another thing, and I get that. We got to work it out. But he produces people of all colors, tones, and pitch centers. And I think that that's really important, is that we know that all of it is valid and also worthy of getting better. We all have the capacity to shape and to meet a tone if we don't let the inner critic shut it down before it comes out. And that's what happens. And I think a lot of brass players tend to have a similar, at least I did when I was younger, a similar reaction. You crack a note and you're like, that was so wrong. It's like, well, or it was a possibility, or it was a note that was like, oh, what can I do to possibly find a better resolution next time? Well, start from a place of listening and then leave some space to listen and then go forth with that idea. So just to do a demo on that, if everybody can't see you, I see Sarah. We're going to do this together. You can stay muted if you want, but if you all just put your feet flat on the floor. If you're standing, that's even better, but I'm sitting because I got too much stuff around me. And really check in, close your eyes. The screen is an energy sucker, and it can also create this feeling of, I don't know, just having to use more energy to be centered than is necessary. So how to deal with this new time is self-care, is where self-care just raises its head daily, momentarily to me. It's like, what am I doing? Oh, I'm slouching. Where's my butt on the chair? So see where your butt is on your chair. Take a deep breath into your lower belly button area. Let it be soft. Fill up. Keep your eyes closed for a second. Feel the length. See if you're holding anything in your shoulders. You can lift your shoulders to the ears. Breathing up, breathe up into under your armpits. I can see some of you doing it out there on the West Coast. So some of you are like, what's she doing? Breathe up and let them down. Let them fall down, back. I already feel better. Take a nose breath. Exhale, mouth. Inhale, mouth. Without using your swallowing mouth inhale, but your actual one, because that's where the note's going to come from. And that's the note that's the resonance is going to connect to your sound and your horn. Okay, now open your eyes, see where they want to go. Mine don't want to go near the computer, so I'm not going to look at it. It's called a gaze spot. So if I have that gaze spot going, my hindbrain is completely cut out of the picture. As soon as I stare at the screen, I'm like, okay, ready, sing. It's going to be like that. But if I go back to that space where I'm aligned and just chill, and I let myself go wherever my eyes want to wander, Oh, that's my note I'm connecting with. It's kind of real. It's somewhere between an F and an F sharp. In Jacob Collier world, that's cool, right? You can get like a lot of notes in there. So I think that's just honesty. Talk about an honest musician. Not trying, but channeling. So it's somewhere in there. But then there's this chunk of metal. And then there's these lips, and there's also this horn. So I have like 4 places I can begin from. And usually they're all different. It all depends, though. It depends how deeply I've been meditating and digging into a sound or a key or a mode or if it's a jackhammer outside, trying to ignore that. Not that I have jackhammers right now, but that's happened before where I'm trying to get in this space. I'm like, how do I get there? It's just so stressful. It's air. It's not trying to get the note to happen. It's remembering. Yep, I'm still feeling that. Feels natural to sing that note, to hum it, to whistle it. When I whistle it, it wants to be that. When I free buzz it, though, let's see. Very interesting, right? What's that interval? It's a, sorry, I can't get around the mic here without dropping my mouthpiece. So it's a 9. Oh, so wow, I sang that, and now I have that stretch of information. And if I do the same process on my horn, still keeping my feet flat and my body open to as a receiver of information. Ooh, very interesting too, right? So I have the... Everybody sing those notes from afar. Sing the bottom one. Or hum it. Now hear this 9th above before you go there. Now flatten it by a half step. That's a nicer way to start the day than having to follow what my routine book might tell me, which is like you start on your G and that's where you go from. I gotta close that mail, sorry. Thought I quit everything before this. Does that make sense, Sarah?
Yeah. Oh, you got a question. And I think this is kind of related. Jessie Smith. Hi, Jessie. She's here in Oregon. Hi, Ingrid. Wondering when and why you got into Qigong and why did you start using it in your musical practice?
Qigong is something I got into. Hold on, just want to do one last thing and then I'll answer that question. But
yeah.
So that's where that would end up. That I just did that process before that question, which feeds into how I'm able to kind of be addicted. I would say I'm addicted to feeling my body in a receptive space rather than a tension space. And to be receptive to notes and ideas, things have to be flowing. And the chi that runs through our body is it's a life force. It's the life force that is in us. And it leads to, and especially me, who is actually a lefty, playing the trumpet with the right hand, it's led me to a lot of healthy places to play from that I didn't play from in the beginning because I didn't know about it. I was like, oh, I just played all scrunched up like this. Whenever I see anyone playing scrunched up like this, I'm like, oh, please put the instrument down and do the opposite. The opposite, pushing away mountains, or the Qigong. There's standing, you can find Qigong standing postures on YouTube. There's like 7 or 8, maybe 9 elements, 10 elements, keep going. But I think the best thing is to study with someone who actually has been to China and worked with masters in that field. And funny enough, back to the Woody Shaw record, I saw somebody gave me pictures of Woody Shaw doing Qigong in Russia. And I was like, oh, and he was doing it right before the gig. It was his way of setting up before the gig. And I, of course, immediately started to do that. I was like, why would I just do this unrelated to playing? So sometimes I actually will not even touch my horn. I'll be doing Qigong backstage and then put the horn on my face and I know everything's going to work.
I think it's it's great to hear you kind of put that into practice when we were doing that exercise with the singing and the buzzing and like just being receptive to all those sounds. I'm thinking like young people that are, going through this past year or whatever young people go through in their lives. I taught middle school for a long time. So, there's just so much anxiety in these young players just from their from their lives and everything. And, the Qigong and whatever else that you do to kind of, help center yourself. What are some of the things that you would just words of advice or wisdom that you can give to young people that are having a hard time letting go of the stress and the anxiety to help them get to that place?
Well, I think the first thing is to acknowledge that we are in a time of trauma and post-traumatic stress. This was a very traumatic year. There's so many things we're all processing, and it's unrealistic to say, oh, just get over it. Come on, move on. Okay, when this is over, we're going to move on. I hope we don't. I actually hope that all of us, and especially young people, like we open our eyes more and our empathy more to one another to feel what each other needs. And that's really hard to do through these screens. I think we've all realized that. But we've also, if you've been getting out a little bit recently, you realize how real human energy is to interact with. So when it comes to thinking you got to show up and play great after all these times of being locked down and not playing together, but yet practicing and doing things. My first piece of advice, musicians, please just play free. Just get together. And when I say free, I mean from the trees, like look out at the trees and play the trees. Play the wind. If you find an idea that you start to create and you like it, hit record on your phone and start writing that down. Because this is a time for us to scrapbook this time of pain and also joy, right? A lot of people are with their families more than ever, myself included. It's like, wow, I get to see my kid grow up rather than be FaceTiming her from Poland. It's really a time for us to take deeper care of first ourselves and then each other. And I think in your time of, I don't even know how to call it practice anymore. I think I would call it in your time of meeting the muse. Having a date with the muse, because the muse is just waiting for you. They is godlike. If you want to use the word godlike, I mean, there's so many ways to describe it, but it's an energy that's just waiting for you to stop operating from the ego space, which is like, I got to show up and be my best and play high notes and play fast and high and loud. It's like, yeah. Or you could just play the trees and the wind, and even be sketching on a sketch pad shapes and playing those. I had a composition class that was various levels of players and various levels of people with technical ability to compose. And all of them, when I gave them an exercise just to write a shape, to listen to Wayne Shorter's shorter length tunes from ESP, the record ESP, to write those shapes, they all made amazing songs out of them. And beautiful lines, and it was like, oh, see, you don't have to be a genius to do this. You have to work on your virtuosity daily, which is back to the drone. Can you guys hear this? Can you hear that? Oh, connecting with the note that's there. If any anxiety creeps in, I'm going to probably stand up and do some Qigong, but I think I'll be okay right now. Oh. And then knowing, wait a minute, hold on. I do eventually, this is like jumping ahead in practice time, because I think sometimes in practice time we can move too quickly to doing things that we aren't ready to do. Anybody guilty of that out there? It's like, I got 5 minutes, I got to warm up. Yeah. Sarah puts up her hand like, yeah. Honestly, it's sometimes better just to do less, but connect to it. So if I'm going to put on this, I was like, okay, I got to play this song. It's pretty fast. It's giving me a little bit of a heart palpitation. I think I'll slow it down and maybe be like, more in the vibe of Indian classical musicians who use a slower tempo to practice from, but allow a bigger subdivision to come into play. Now that sounds like a really nerdy, geeky answer to this question, like how to control your anxiety. Believe it or not, time, dance, rhythm, subdivision, whatever word, I think I need to find a nicer word for that. Get my thesaurus out, but because it sounds a little mathematical. But subdividing that pulse, you all hear that? And hearing it wherever you hear it. You could hear that as triplets. Do, ga, da, go, go, da, do, da. Even triplets. I could hear it as do, go, do, good, do, good, with accents on different parts of the triplet. Now I could let my air connect with just even 16ths. Or just eighths notes. So becoming familiar with rhythm is a great way to actually lessen your anxiety when it's time to play, because you already are familiar. You become more familiar and comfortable. So that pulse I had there, maybe, I think before I played that gig that I was playing that was rudely interrupted by the internet, to get myself in the space to play over a 1-chord vamp in 6, I basically just hung out in 6 as I was doing my chop gathering, my meeting with the muse before the gig, and pretending or imagining in my mind what it's going to be like, not to play with Antonio and James. I play with their old friends, so I don't have to worry about that. And John on piano. I know that even though we had never played before, if I'm approaching the stage with a knowledge of the tune, but not a preconceived solo, it's going to be awesome, because I know they're all going to listen, and we're going to feed off of each other. And that was the second take. We did 2 takes. That was it. The first one was sort of like a dress rehearsal, and then the second take I was like, can we just keep playing now? Let's go on the road. So that's how music works to me, is being prepared on your own in a really healthy way. And sometimes that means digging in and actually getting, a therapist, doing therapy. That's not something to be embarrassed about. Or having a teacher that is like a therapist, that has you play like this, and you trade back and forth to the point where you're like, I could figure out how to practice to get good on any tune if I just make sure I'm hearing, starting from a place of hearing, starting from a place of breathing with that feel that's going on, and start embracing the song I'm working on. And with that, Sarah, really, as I know, it's like when we play an etude, it's like, I want to play this etude at quarter note equals 60. Oh, shoot, I keep just completely train wrecking at bar 9. I better just isolate that, do some lip slurs around these intervals, and get this whole, deeper sense of what this phrase is telling me about, that I need to practice. Get deeper into that phrase and learn from it. So when they say you're your best teacher, it's sort of true, but there's teachers that can guide you in this as well.
I get so caught up sometimes in like wanting to play the music, but then I, cack too many notes, and I'm like, I want to throw my trumpet out the window. And it's just, especially if, right now I haven't played enough during the pandemic, just like everybody, right? And I went to play the other day, and it was just like, it's gets in your head, and it's hard to get that out and be able to just make music again.
Which is why I would just say to everyone out there, any instrument you play, is that the mental living with the mental vision, I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm sure Charlie Porter has a way to say this better than me, on the trumpet especially, is that image of, it's almost a mapping of how it felt when you played your best. Your brain will take that information, and I can tell you right now, it's a heck of a lot better choice than, like, I had a student show up the other day, it's just like, I can tell this, it plays one note, I can tell this is going to be a bad day. I'm like, okay, you're going to go out the door, walk around, and then come back, and let's start again, because you can't start from that. You know, we can't do that. That's not, you've literally set yourself up to have not a bad day, but a really bad day. Like, why bring that information into the moment? But I'm not saying that our physical muscles do not shift and become, I'm not going to use the word deteriorate, because they don't. They're not deteriorating. They're just losing memories of what it's like to play for 2 hours in a big band and, you know, not get tired. It's just the conditioning is less. And at the beginning of the pandemic, I really had that freak out. It's like, I've been on the road with Artemis and we've been playing like hard, you know. I just played Carnegie Hall and it was great. My chops felt amazing. Of course, it was Carnegie Hall, which makes you sound really good. It sounds really good in there, especially on a Monette trumpet. Yeah, and then afterwards going, oh, now what? And then the sticking my horn out the window became my gig. I would open my window and start playing at 7 o'clock. And I had all these different tunes I play. And then these moms with their kids would come by. So I'd play some kids' tunes. And then, you know, there's a Jewish family across the street and they're having Jewish holidays. I'm like, I better figure out these, what do they want to hear? You know, and then there was one day I played out the window and it's like the sunny side of the street while it was raining and there was a couple dancing. I'm like, okay, better keep playing. And then it became this kind of pandemic response hang that turned into concerts. And even, sorry, that's my dog, even with me doing basic maintenance, it was hard to really believe that I could play longer than a half hour. And so we started playing gigs on the front yard. And I set up, you can find them on my YouTube, right? There's a couple of nice examples of this on my YouTube channel.
I saw a couple of them on your Instagram too.
Yeah, those were the real deal, man. And I can't say enough about how important they were to the community more than us. But for me, it was like 30 minutes was a long blow. I'm like, wow. And I wasn't even playing the whole time. So now it's this, you know, maintenance is crucial, but also knowing that minimal amount of maintenance you do, whatever that is, and then that the rest of the time you're still creating and still imagining what it's like to be playing, can have a massive impact on what happens when you put the horn on your face. Massive, like, you know, subdividing with the blinker in the car, as my husband does with the drumstick. You know, he's like building a house and he'll probably come back and sound better than ever on the drums, even though he hasn't touched the drums in 3 months. It'll sound great, and because he's doing stuff with his feet all the time. And so we are geniuses inside all of this processing. It's when we make the mistake of letting that inner critic suck its way in and just go blah 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 that we kind of, I don't know, not lose, but definitely are you know, not giving ourselves what our worth is.
Yeah, that's great. I'm inspired to just go play now. Just put on my drones and go.
Do it. And yeah. You know what? I'm going to nerd out hard here on any trumpet players right now. The thing that really got me up to this point where I feel like I didn't lose my face was, I mean, I do all these different routines. Caruso, Bill Adam Rappa. Of course, studying with Laurie Frink was amazing.
Yeah.
All these different methods I've done. But the thing that I found is keeping subdivision and sound as part of the equation all the time, and knowing that you're working with a rhythm that is making you comfortable, but also challenging you in the spaces. So it's a focus thing. It's all a focus. So here's this space. Here's when I play. Sorry, here I play. Here's the space. What's happening in that space? Well, it's actually even more important than what happened when I played. Rather than going, you know, I'm playing a note, whatever it might be. I'm doing the James Thompson book. It's amazing. It's just like these low register mouthpiece and horn buzzing stuff. But I think because of all the other things I've done accumulatively in my research of the trumpet, it makes a really easy connection for me. And that helped me through those times when I was really literally not playing much and then had to hit hard on an overdub session or a gig like the one that was there I played earlier. Yeah. So yeah, it's really fascinating. It's been so fascinating to me.
I think there's going to be lots of studies to come out of this, you know, how musicians coped during all of this or kept their chops up or whatever. It's going to be fascinating.
Well, let's get more questions.
Yeah, we have a little over 10 minutes officially left. So if anybody out there is watching and has questions, make sure you drop them in the chat and I'll forward them to Ingrid. The official title of the session, I think, was creating an inspired practice session, and I know you've been talking along in those lines. I saw the video that you did about your with your sister about creativity in practice sessions. I know you talk a lot about that sometimes. Do you want to get into that for a few minutes while we're waiting for some questions? I know it's a big topic, right?
No, I mean in 12 minutes, I can cover it, and I kind of have already been covering it. And the creativity will only flow if you're allowing what you have within yourself to also be part of the equation. It's not that any book or any one teacher or any one YouTube or any one theory of relativity in music is going to manifest this deep transformation of your playing. So again, here's back to that song. Let's see if you guys can hear this. So if my tempo's there, all I'm doing there is just six and D minor, 6 and D minor, and creativity will come. That's a big word. Be creative. It's also like improvise. Okay, already my brain says in relation to what, and off of what, right? It's like what? That's a lot of pressure. But although right now while I'm talking, I'm looking at this crazy wall that my artist friend made in our studio, which is unfinished and messy, and I'll see if I can show it to you without destroying everything. So see that wall? So it's like, oh hey, be creative. Well, good, I got a piece of art to look at. That's cool. I can do that, right? So having that as something to play around with. I could play those shapes. I could play gold. I could say red, but I could also say, geez, you should probably learn how to play your E Dorian scale in 6, and every possible rhythmic grouping and every inversion available within that chord, within those 4 chord tones, and start there, or even within the triad. Just knowing all the possibilities off of that. How about start there, then add some time and the rhythmic groupings, or take it out, or do both. So the idea being, and this is the truth serum, as those of you who may have already done this know, the idea and the goal being to play a song without any accompaniment, without any play along. You can record yourself, because then you really know, in time, with the chords, so you could hear the chords and the melody. If somebody was in the other room and they heard me playing, they'd be like, okay, Sam, I'm working on I Love You. And even though I never play the melody, I'm playing the changes and I'm blowing around it in time, maybe in 6, maybe in a different key. And my husband, for example, would say, oh, I heard you shouting I love you down there, even though I never played the melody. So someone knowing, you knowing a song and being able to play it in time and building your practice routine around that. And here's the funnest part about it. Is this the sign you know you're in the right zone? Is when you feel like you want to stop and write a song, because it's feeding you ideas that are original. And that's my goal in my creative practice process, is to dig as deeply into the material I need to play well and be free on, and be able to create off of, to be able to do what I prefer to call my new version of improvisation, which is from Gary Bartz, which is theme and variation. Is to have endless themes and variations that I can play. And here's the hardest one, right? In relation to everyone around me. So if Gary Versace, I think you all know who Gary Versace is, if he's comping and I feel like my flow is not continuously in response to him, or it's just like, oh, he has to comp for me to make me sound good versus we're playing together, then I know what I need to be working on. I know I need to find more possibilities of what's available over those, whatever that may be. That's just me playing freely, but also living within the sound of that triad, which happens to be a minor triad. So in order to have that creativity that feeds your improvisation, that gives you the moment of connection with the people around you, continually filling the suitcase, the toolbox, whatever you want to think of it as, the house with viable tools that are always at hand to pull from, to not pull from, to step back and just listen. That's really that's the highest pinnacle of when you know you're there. It's like, wow, I didn't have to come up with an idea. All I was doing was listening, and then I play this thing and I reacted, and if I'm to put the chatter to what really is happening, I reacted, and then everybody else reacted, and the audience liked it too. Oh my God. That's the ultimate, is like when you're in this egoless space and you are making music from a place that is providing beauty and pause for reflection in this moment to moment experience. And that's again, Sarah, it's like actually back to the neighbors when they came out and heard the music. There were people who were like, I hate jazz. And they'd come out to our concerts and like, this is so great. Music is so good. I'm like, yeah. And us playing it for you, we also are really thankful. It's really feeling like the most honorable thing to do at this point. Although I should probably go and mow my lawn and clean the front yard so they're not staring at weeds. But that's like, again, there's the inner critic coming in. It's like, they don't care. Nobody cares if you right or wrong in what you play. But if you're hearing it and feeling it and living it, and then being honest about where you're at in relation to what's going on around you, you will continue to learn, and people will be there also to lift you up in that process.
That's like the most beautiful definition of, right? It wasn't really a definition, but I just always love your explanations of, getting into creativity and making music for yourself and with the people around you. And it's always interactive. It's never, because what I'm thinking about when I'm listening to you, talk about this is, there's kind of this old school way of teaching where you have to learn the technique first, and it's kind of becoming a relic, but it's still there. Even just the other day I heard a teacher say, no, you got to learn all your scales first before you can improvise, or, and I know it's more, so many teachers are getting away from that, but It's still there,
Yeah, it's called curriculum. Curriculum needs an overhaul. Right. And it's like this fancy word that us educators are supposed to throw around the room. Like, what does it mean? What is the human you're sharing this curriculum with really need right now? Possibly they just need to know that they can hear all the intervals and the sounds that come off just those three notes. Or maybe they don't even hear this note yet. Okay, cool. That's great. That's a great place to start. Now imagine that as one is home, and let's write a song in this key, you know. I transcribed that song.
Thank you for playing that. I was just listening to that yesterday.
It's such a good tune to jam on. I played it. That was my very last gig was in Ossining here, where I live with my friend Nate Radley, great guitar player, and John, and who played the bass? I can't remember if we had bass. Maybe we didn't. Oh, we had organ. It was Alex Smith. He plays with Lady Gaga. He's so great. And he's been one of our COVID hangs that we've done. And I was like, let's play that song, Bad Guy. And it was actually, it was really refreshing. And the audience, again, they're just like, yeah, thanks for doing that. We're like, well, thank you for listening to us. Thank you for indulging us with your ears. And I
think so much of the time it's just giving students or whoever permission to do that. Like, you can play Bad Guy. Why not?
You should play Bad Guy.
It's
It's a great way to get into learning how to play a minor blues, and maybe you'll write your own song after that. That's not even a minor blues. Maybe it's something else in a different meter, or maybe you write your own lyric. You find your key. That's another thing that's really important in this area. It's like, I think those technical things you're talking about. It's like, start on this note. Me personally, I resonate. My note in my home note is usually an F sharp. When I usually go to, that's probably where I should have started playing the trumpet from. It sounds crazy, but it would have been a lot easier than forcing myself to start on a B flat. Like, no wonder I had to sing and find something I could connect with. So that's why singing is so great. Just sing a simple song and then play it.
So we just got a really great question kind of wrapping us up here towards the end of our hour from Tessa. She says, hi, Ingrid. Hearing you speak on these ideas is like a breath of fresh air. I agree. I'd love to hear more. Do you have any videos or articles on these ideas of playing from an inner place of authenticity? Where can we find your ideas?
Can I just write that down?
Right?
Authenticity. Let me keep working on that authentic thing, because even as I am old now, or older, feeling old-ish, I still get into places where I feel like, if I can't come up with something, I better revert to something I know that works. And it happens less and less, I have to say, thankfully. And if there was something I would tell my younger self at this point, it's like, go, if I was 16 or 15 again, I'd say, just go face out the window and play the rain for a second before you start going into playing your Clark studies and your etudes. You do have to do to make you better. I'm not saying any of that is like illegitimate. It's legit ways of creating technical prowess. But to be in that space with the Shruti box, the drone, there's a video, Lincoln Center, the Jazz Ed video. I kind of do a fairly thorough explanation on this process, but I will take that also as a challenge to present more material on this way of practicing and digging into enjoying making music rather than it being a chore, because it should never be a chore. And if it is a chore, I think you should walk away and find that space and that breath and come back and start fresh.
I think a philosophy book is in your future.
A philosophy book? Maybe.
You need to write a philosophy book for us.
I have so many books I want to. I have like a stack of books I'm trying to read right now myself. Honestly, I have to say one of the greatest books to read right now in this time that we're in, and it's very relevant to us as musicians, is the Clark Terry autobiography, because even, we have to talk about appropriation here. I am a white person who has made a living off of this culture that has oozed its way into my being, and I'm completely indebted for life to all of my mentors who happen to be old black men for some reason. So Clark Terry, as you may have seen in this silly picture, young. Look at my hair. It was so Barbie. It's not good, but I was very young. Clark Terry, his book is very relevant to the conversation of this time, of where you really realize what people went through to make this music. And the fact that he is alive after the first chapter, you're like, wow, how did you manage to stay alive through all that? And aren't we glad you did? Because he's my role model in kindness and true genius of character. So yeah, I'll work on the book, and hopefully, if I think of some more links too, I'll send them to you, Sarah. You could share them. I know there's some things I'm not.
Sure. Yeah. I was just trying to throw that Lincoln Center video in the chat real quick. I think I got it. Yeah, there we go.
It's pretty available.
We found it. Yeah.
And I do have something for Jazz Heaven, which is an incredible site. If you don't know about Jazz Heaven, any of you, it's a fantastic series of videos that my friend Falk has put out. And I have something in the can I haven't finished that I will finish and get going.
Awesome. We can't wait.
Thank you.
We're eagerly awaiting all of your content.
Thank you.
So any parting words for us before we wrap up here? Or?
I miss y'all. I miss the West Coast. I had a wonderful conversation with Dave Monette yesterday, and just was like, I just want to jump on a plane and come to Portland and then make my way down there too, or over there. Where are you guys in relation to Portland?
Over. It's Portland.
Over. Yeah. As soon as I get back to the West Coast, please come and say hi when we get a gig going somewhere. And in the meantime, just self-care, dig into singing who you are, singing your authentic self. That's a good one. Sing it into being, and it may be a rhythm. It may be something you come up with on a salt shaker at the dinner table, but believe that it is from deep from within you and not something you have to come up with on the spot. But you will actually come up with great stuff on the spot when you continue to fill your ears and your mind and your body with good things and good sounds.
Thank you so much, Ingrid. This is always inspiring listening to you talk, and it's great to connect with you again. And
it's great to see you. I can't believe we saw each other in Peru. How many years ago?
18 years ago.
Ah!
Yeah, it's great. Yikes. I love this business and the connections. It's so great.
Those shells on the drum over there are from Peru.
That's amazing. That's great. Well, please make sure that you all visit the festival website at mhcc.edu/JazzFestival for the full schedule of remaining events. And you can also purchase festival merchandise there and learn how you can help support the festival in the future. Thank you so much for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you at the rest of the events for the rest of the day. And one more note from Ingrid.
Thank you for having me.
Wait, I got one last quick question. What was the name of the book that everyone should be reading right now? Again,
Clark Terry's autobiography. And then there's also a video called Keep On Keeping On. But the book is the Clark Terry. It's just called Clark Terry.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Great.
Written by him. Thank you. Thanks, Sarah. You're a great hostess.
Thank you.
Thanks, Moses and Dan. Everyone be well.
Thanks, everybody.